Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Spring and Autumn Story of China. Spring and Autumn is brought to you by Mr. B Games. It's for 1 to 5 players, ages 13 and up, and games generally run 120 to 180 minutes. Around 800 BC, China was blossoming as a civilization. The Zhou Emperor sat on the throne of feudal China and ruled through wise philosophers and able warlords. But a single generation later, those same advisors rose up against the throne and each other to claim hegemony for their philosophy and way of life. Spring and Autumn Story of China is a 4X civilization game in which you take control of one of the preeminent states of feudal China. To explore the land, expand your borders, research powerful advancements, build your economy, and bring honor to yourself. Your goal is to establish the first true dynasty in China. Spring and Autumn expands upon the system used in Hellenica's Story of Greece. Will you be able to guide your civilization during these turbulent times? Will your vision of Chinese civilization be remembered for all time, or will you merely be a stepping stone for another? So, to win the game, the player scoring the most total public and private objectives will win. But be careful, the player with the most dishonor is considered not honorable enough to ascend to the throne. At the end of a player's turn, if they have completed 3 or more of these public objectives, that will bring an end to the game. And the players will total their objectives, again, public and private. So, objectives. Let's start with these cards because again, you're going to need to complete a series of public and private cards in order to win the game. But you're going to get a series of private cards in your hand that you're trying to achieve through the course of the game. And again, those public ones, if you complete 3 of those, that's going to bring the end of the game, okay? So there's all kinds of different objectives here to take a look at. I'll just show you a couple, but for a private, maybe you'll get the builder. And in this builder card, you need to own at least 1 building of each type. And then for a public objective, an example would be the prosperity card, where you have more buildings than every other player. So there's numerous types of objectives to take a look at through the course of the game, but these are really the things your end goal, trying to fulfill as you move through the different rounds and so forth. Now, obviously there's a fair amount of setup. You're gonna be placing buildings and starting in your start location. You've got your player board, series of tokens and cards and so forth. We'll take a closer look at what you have on those player boards in a minute. But the basics of play is that there are several phases within a round. First, you're going to be starting with the most honorable phase, and based on the honor tokens, this will determine who goes first. And then we have the action phase, and this is really the heart of the game. You're going to be doing this mostly. This is really what you're using to build upon your kingdoms and explore and conquer. So you're going to be building buildings or moving your palace. You're going to train units, do some research and advancement, honor your ancestors, supply an area for movement or create commerce, exchange commerce to take bonus actions, and finally you can just pass. And once everyone passes, that will move you to the upkeep phase, which dragons activate. Yes, dragons do appear in this world. You can conquest. Players who solely occupy an area conquer those areas. And then you have philosophy cards. Through the course of the game, they activate if you have any in front of you that are face up. And mostly this is a cleanup phase though. You're going to be retrieving all your tokens, refilling your player boards, and of course checking for those victory conditions, completing those public objectives. So the thing I like about this system, it is a 4X game, but turns move really fast. And if you know their previous game, Hellenica, Story of Greece, this will make a lot of sense and be very familiar to you. But just know that the really nice thing here is that on your turn you're doing one thing, and then it moves around the table. So turns move really fast until everyone passes. You're only doing 1 action off your player board. So a closer look at these player boards, as these are key to everything you're doing in the game. You have a series of cubes here which you can expand on through advancements, but these cubes will be used on buildings out in the world to activate them. And here in this prototype, I've only got the tiles, but they do have 3D buildings that have slots for the cubes, which is really cool. But take a look at that if you're interested, but those really do add a lot of table presence to the game. Now, the actions here available to you are very much related to the different types of buildings. So let's take a look at building first. I like the fact that when you build, you've got a neutral cube, which shows that this building is currently under construction. Once it's done and built, then you can use your colored cubes to activate it. And any building with a colored cube on it has already been activated until the end of the turn. So those are the basics there, but you've got several different types of buildings and they're all very self-explanatory, and all the icons around these actions are very clear about what you're doing. But you've got the marketplace, you've got the barracks, you've got the academy, you've got the shrines, and of course you can build a wall, and you have your palace, which is awesome because your palace, your main building, acts as a wild card. You can basically do any of the things the other buildings can do. Then we have honor. Honor is about getting honor tokens, obviously. You'll be placing a cube on your shrine in order to get these tokens. Now, honor tokens are going to be used, obviously, in the first phase of the round to see if you get to go first, but honor tokens are really used for your philosophy cards. And you get these philosophy cards by building shrines. So they have all kinds of special abilities and different things they can aid you with, but you can only use them once per turn. So you have some that are face down, face up, based on buildings that you've built and so forth. And then you have research. Now, research is awesome because that's where you get all the new advancements in your kingdom. Now, you have level 1 and level 2 advancement. And you have to have the level 1 in the tree before you can get a level 2. And it's expensive, right? So you have to earn knowledge tokens to do these different advancements. So what you'll do is you'll place a cube on the academy. And from the academy, you'll get a knowledge token. And then you'll accumulate these tokens. And again, based on how many perhaps academies you have in the area, you'll get that many knowledge tokens. And that's true with all the buildings. The multiple buildings that you have in an area will get you multiples of things. So, but you're really after those knowledge tokens to increase your kingdom's abilities. So many different things here and different paths you can take for each game and try in these different enhancements. Or you might choose the train action. And this is about getting more troops. You're trying to get either heroes, which you would go to academy to do, or you go to the barracks to get one of your grunts, so to say. You get, junks, you can get archers, infantry, all kinds of different types of troops. But you'll place your cube there, and based on how many different types of barracks or academies you have in play, will determine how many of those troops that you're going to get and put into your region. Now, supply. Supply is about getting commerce. And if you do get commerce, it is wealth. It's wealth for your nation, so to say. And you can use these coins to trade in for various things. But really, this is where you can move your troops as you are trying to conquer the region, the areas, move to new areas, set up shop, so to say, build new buildings and so forth. So you have to move troops into those areas in order to do this. And obviously, part of that is conquest and battling against your fellow players. So it's interesting, combat is really easy, which is nice. You're based on the troops that you have in the region, whatever it is. It could be from the sea, it could be, archers. You're gonna be taking the various colored dice and rolling them, and you're gonna be doing these roll-offs back and forth, reducing each other's troops back and forth until somebody either completely gets wiped out or you have finally decided to withdraw. And if you do, then you get a dishonor token. Now, everybody can see how many dishonor tokens you have, but they don't know the value of dishonor on the backside. And that's really going to be key, because if perhaps you did the final objective and you think you're in good shape, but really you have a lot of dishonor, you're not going to win the game. So it is an interesting mix of what you're doing, but battles can go very quickly, which I like as well in this game. There's not a lot of mystery there. You take the right dice, you roll it off, and compare values and go back and forth. It's really that simple. All right, the last thing I want to touch on are these world events. I really like this aspect of the game. Some really fun game moments come out of this, and this is another place where you're going to need honor tokens, because you will be bidding on these cards at some point. So you have a dragon track on your board. You have a chaos cube. The chaos cube is placed based on the number of players in the game, and every time one of these cards is pulled, that cube will move. Now, these cards are pulled because there's been a disruption in the world flow. You've moved to have combat, things like that will draw one of these cards and move the cube. Now, once the cube reaches the end of the track, then everyone has the opportunity to bid on the world event that was played. And it can, like I said, be a dragon that you put in the world. It could be something bad that you want to win the card, like Bad Omens, so you can prevent yourself from getting a dishonored token where everyone else would get one. So some really fun, interesting things there there's some disasters in the world like flood. There's also immigrants and things of that nature, but really I like the fact that dragons appear in the world. There's also ways to activate those barbarian hordes as well. So these world events can really change up what's happening in the game, and I like that aspect. And this track, once you get to the end, then it just resets. And potentially as time goes on, you could have multiple events moving and all kinds of chaos happening in the world, which I like that in games. So that's just kind of a brief overlook of everything in the game. There's definitely a lot of intricacies to check out, especially with how you conquer certain areas and the different types of buildings you put into play. But the thing I like most about the world event cards are the dragons. When they come into play, depending on where they are and where you are and what areas you control, depend how they work. And there's a nice guide, a key to how all the dragons behave, but they might give you new units. They might give you commerce or cause dishonor. They really add that nice next level touch to the game. And if you can get dragons in your favor, it helps tremendously. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form. So keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, again, I really like the fact that the game moves very quickly, very snappy. From turns to combat, everything flows really, really well. And if you know Hellenica, a lot of this is going to seem very familiar to you, that game style, that gameplay, but they've definitely streamlined the game, added some nice new touches to it as well. So I like that aspect, and the fact that you have dragons in the world, I like that as well. And those objective cards are some really interesting choices to be made as you're fulfilling those and trying to achieve what your civilizations are doing in order to conquer the world. But folks, ultimately, if this looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.